Hey, welcome back to Evil's Comics. This guy right here is Evil Mike, and I have a review for you. By request from my dude Ranger Sly, this is DC's The New Golden Age. It is a one-shot. It is written by Geoff Johns predominantly, but there is a whole bunch of other artists and writers. I'm going to list them in the description. So if you're interested in that, check out that. But there are some big names like Gary Frank. We got like Lieber, Ordway, Todd Nauch. But first off, let me say something. I might not be the greatest guy to review this, but solely based on I just don't have a lot of knowledge, for one, on the JSA or a lot of old DC stuff. I've been trying to read over the years, any DC that heads my way, but still I have gaps in knowledge. But for the most part, I do know most of the characters in the book, but I can't say the book is all over the place. It's not really set in the past. It's past, future, present, other futures, other presents. It's all over the place. So I'm gonna do my best. So stick with me. It starts off November 22nd, 10 years from now. I'm assuming they're stating like present now, like 2022. But we are caught up with Helena. That name should ring a bell. Helena Wayne, the daughter of Bruce Wayne and Catwoman. But the book kind of plays that you might not know that. Basically, we are catching up with Helena, and she just kind of mentions this story about like the stranger ever since she's can remember. She has good days, bad days, stuff like that. But whenever, it doesn't matter when, but this dude just pops up, this stranger guy shown here, and he just kind of like stares at her and like makes her cry, and then just disappears. She has this like steady fear of this guy. And then the book jumps. We go to November 22nd, 1940 with I think it is the original first occasion with the JSA. They're taking pictures. There's talks. So basically, it's like a parlor trick set up by Atom Smasher. And that was like this. I do know all the members of the JSA featured here. It's really because they deal with the Legion of Superheroes. I don't know them as much. So anyways, back to this. Atom Smasher is basically, he's talking to Dr. Fate, and he's asking him to check on some things in the future, specifically him and this girl he likes. He's kind of wondering if they're going to have kids. He basically moves to like, Atom Smasher gets his answer, and then he asks him, well, do Alan, and Green Lantern's like, nah, I don't want to know my future. And next is Jay Garrick, the Flash. And he's like, oh, I want to know my future. Me and the missus, or, me and Joan are talking about having kids already. Well, Dr. Fate looks into the Flash's future, and as soon as he does, Naboo and the helmet catch on fire. We get this glimpse of what he sees. But basically, these are characters that I guess DC hasn't used for a long time. When I first saw this, I mean, of course, for me, I don't know any of these characters. They do explain who they are at the end, but that's kind of it. But basically right here, you get the one tagline, Dad, from Jay Garrick's daughter. But basically, on the other panel, we get Dr. Fate, and his helmet caught on fire. He's screaming, get it off, get it off. All the JSA are struggling to get it off. And then the book jumps over, and it goes to November 22nd, 3022, 100 years into the future, or 1,000 years in the future, I'm sorry. Basically, we have some people, and they have found the Brownstone, the original location for the JSA, and we find out it is like a new group during the Legion of Superheroes, and they're trying to bring back the Justice Society. We have a new Green Lantern, we have an Atom Smasher, and then a Dr. Fate. As soon as we meet them, Dr. Fate is killed by the said stranger. The stranger says some weird things. We do learn that the Dr. Fate was a she, and the book kind of goes back to where we were a second ago. It goes back to the Justice Society of America, where Dr. Fate, saw the vision and they got the helmet off him. There's some conversation about, like, him being hurt, and of course, with the helmet, without the helmet, he's just a regular guy. There's some other conversation about, like, oh, the helmet is so grand and gold and this and that, and Dr. Fate's like, I never want to put that thing on. The book jumps to November 22nd, 1976, and we are with Dr. Midnight, and the same Dr. Fate, just older, and he is kind of remembering about that memory that he had all those years ago with the original JSA. Now we are kind of at a new era with the JSA, and they're picking up new members. Basically Stripesy or Starman, and not Stripesy, Starman and Power Girl, and they're brand new, like, recruits for the JSA, or they aren't full members yet. The book jumps over to now continuity, and we're with Kalisz, the current Doctor Strange, and which just happened in the Justice League Dark. He is like I think the grandson of Ted Cord, or not Cord, Ted something, the original Dr. Fate. Like I said, I don't have the greatest knowledge on this. Okay, so anyways, so we are with Kalisz and Detective Chimp, and they are going to a bar because currently inside the Dr. Fate helmet is a different entity, but like up until recently it's always been Nabu, and some things happen, and they basically exorcise Nabu out of the helmet, and now there is a new entity inside the helmet, and it's a she, and her name is like Hathet. I think she is an Egyptian goddess or something like that. But basically they are not familiar with this new goddess that's in the helmet. That's why they're going to the bar. They're looking for Deadman, who's going to exorcise her out of the helmet so they can have a sit down. Kalisz is not really looking forward to this, or wants to, because he's not a fan of bars, public situations. He wants to go back to work. He does find out that Detective Chimp already quit his job, stating that he's Dr. Fate. That's kind of more important. But basically, and it's Hahet, I think is how you pronounce it. He even states, like, why are we trying to trick her? Why don't we just ask her if she'd like to come out? And basically, while this conversation is going on, Hahet just kind of takes over and makes him Doctor Strange, and basically tells Kalisz that he's not looking in the right direction, that he needs to look in the right direction before it's too late. The book jumps back to 3022, right after Dr. Fate was murdered by the Stranger, and sadly enough, even though Green Lantern and Atom Smasher go after, like, on the attack of the Stranger, we see that the new Green Lantern is quickly killed off, like, basically instantly. And the Stranger just states that they're just not experienced. The book kind of jumps back to the 40 era, and we're with I think it's Green Lantern and another hero, but basically they're talking about some events, and they kind of pass a newspaper thing, and it mentions that the Soviets have activated the Red Lantern, and it supposedly it's an old or an original enemy of the original Green Lantern. While this is going on, we see in the background that the Stranger is moving around. He teleports, and all of a sudden he is in this, it is a courtroom, and it is basically the American government trying to unveil the Justice Society of America. They want them to unmask, basically proving their loyalty to the United States. The book jumps over back to Helena Wayne, and at this point she's basically stating that she's had that fear of the Stranger forever, and it's time and done, and she actually takes action. She hides a knife and waits, and she hears something in the middle of the night. She creeps behind the shadow, and it ends up stabbing the person, and it ends up being her dad, Batman, and this is when she finds out that Bruce Wayne is actually Batman. And the conversation, does mom know, kind of comes up. The book jumps back to 13 years ago. It doesn't state 13 years ago when, and this is old school Catwoman and Dr. Fate, so I'm assuming it's I don't know. It didn't say. But basically, Catwoman is in a burglar situation. She is stealing a ring, the cursed Shin Ring of Hahet. At this time, Fate appears and basically tells her that the ring is cursed, that she doesn't want to wear it, blah blah blah. Catwoman kind of notices that the helmet is made of gold and instantly whips it, and that's where the book kind of does this weird thing. It has this badass spread of basically Dr. Fate being like murdered or already dead in numerous fashions. There are some other notable things. I have to look at it to point it out. The Stranger is over here upside down. And then over here, I don't know who this is, but right here there's one other random character that is dead, but I can't make it. Honestly, it looks like Arsenal to me, but I mean, the Arsenal is not featured anywhere else in this book. But just so you can see him, there's the Stranger. But it is a whole bunch of just dead Dr. Fates all over the place. Right after that, we go back to the Catwoman and Dr. Fate situation, and Catwoman literally pulls the helmet off of Fate and basically says that she knows who Fate is, and with the helmet he has powers without, she doesn't steal the helmet, but she does steal the cursed rings and takes off. But before she ends up taking off, Dr. Fate kind of warns Catwoman about having a child, specifically a daughter, and it says the Stranger is going to kill your daughter. When your daughter joins the JSA, she is going to die with the rest of them. Catwoman kind of mentions, my daughter? Like, I'm not even into kids, and she kind of leaves. The book jumps back over to that situation with Helena Wayne and Bruce Wayne when she's first learning about Batman, and he took her to the Batcave. He's showing her all the good stuff, and of course, Selina comes home screaming. I mean, she is pissed. Basically, Bruce Wayne made a promise to, Selina Kyle, Catwoman, when they had Helena, basically stating that she would never be a part of that superhero world. There is some notable things. One thing that made me gasp, because in this conversation between Catwoman and Batman, basically Selina states, don't you remember what happened to... And let me make sure I get this right, I'm bad with names. But she says, don't you remember what happened to Tim? And she says, what about Stephanie, Damien, and then even the Joker's son? I was like, what? The Joker's son? But basically all those people had perished, and that's why she is bringing this up. They have all died, and under the guise of greater responsibility and that kind of stuff. And she goes back into the, she doesn't want, Helena Wayne being in that superhero world. We do see at the very end of the scene the Stranger showing up, and he mentions to Helena that it's almost time. The book jumps over, and this was where it kind of gets a little weird, because I think this is more of the Legion of Superhero world. But basically we are having, it's a conversation with this guy right here and this guy right here. This guy being the man that murdered George Washington in while he was in the theater. But basically, this guy, and his name is Corky. But Corky in the right here, Corky, he's basically going back to the past, and he is, talking to this guy that shot, I can't remember his name, I think it's John something, yeah, I'm bad with names, guys. But basically he is talking to John, and he is basically telling him, he kind of reveals the future, that he's going to kill, the president, oh, and this will be Lincoln, not Washington. But he kills Lincoln in the theater, and basically he's going to be world famous for that action alone, even though he was a world famous actor, and he wasn't that good at the acting side. But basically he is trying to get him to not assassinate Lincoln, and he kind of mentions it a bunch. The only thing that John takes away after Corky leaves, because he does like this little teleporting bubble, which in the DC world is a time traveling capsule. Basically it looks like some other team shows up, or his team shows up to retrieve Corky, and they basically start scolding him. The only thing that John takes away is that if he kills the president, he's going to be world famous, so it doesn't look like whatever Corky was trying to change, that it worked. But they do mention some other things, like this team, and They mentioned that they are looking for Dreiberg, Dreiberg, Dreiberg. But they are looking for this Dreiberg person, and they mention who the parents are. For me, this is where the book got badass, because on the next page, it kind of jumps over. It says, yeah, it doesn't say when, but this is specifically from Doomsday Clock. That was Mime and Marionette. Over here from The Watchmen, we have the scene after either Rorschach dies or Rorschach is teleported away. It depends on what you took away from that. And over here we got Dr. Manhattan. They don't really mention what the Watchmen references are, but it has something to do with Mime and Marionette's baby, but they don't really mention anything else. At this point, they kind of go back to Helena Wayne, and it does say a date. It says 18 years from now, but I'm assuming this is when Helena Wayne is becoming the Huntress, is what she becomes. But she kind of states that this is the day that her dad died, and they show Batman dead. Evidently he was murdered. They do kind of show a scene with Chimp and Dr. Fate and Deadman. Deadman just basically telling the three that he's not that well versed with the Egyptian gods. And this is kind of like the very last page, because it seems that at this time Helena had joined the JSA, and they do show some other members, like they show Power Girl, a female Flash that's dressed like Jay Garrick. It looks like a different version of Dr. Fate, and I'm assuming the man in the purple would be a Green Lantern, but I'm not sure, especially because he's in the purple. I'm not used to the purple, but the only reason I think that is because he's got the green there. But it just basically states that that's what made her become the Huntress. Her name is Helena Wayne. I'm Batman's daughter. I'm the Huntress. But basically, it's going to start out this like murder mystery, like who killed Batman kind of thing. And it does say to be continued in Justice Society of America, issue number 1. The very back, there is something so badass. There's character dossiers of some well-known character. Well, I think one well-known character, this one Aquaman, but then and basically they give you like real information, like first appearance, More Fun Comics issue number 73, which I was not aware of. The back of the book is all those characters they showed on that one page, and we'll go over some of them, like Ross, Betsy Ross and Molly Pitcher, Cherry Bomb, the Harley Quinn's son, John Henry Jr. I'm sorry, because all these are brand new for me. The Boom, Ladybug, Red Lantern, Mr. Miracle, I know him, Quiz Kid, Salem, the Witch Girl, and the very last one, Legionnaire. Legionnaire is the only one that is all his, the information on the character is retracted. All the other characters have very detailed information, like history, personal data, powers and weapons, but they do tell you where they came from, what issues. I actually do have one, because Harley what was it? Harley Quinn's son, his first appearance is Infinity Inc. number 1, and I recently picked that up because of Stargirl, Geoff Johns, right? But that is the very end of it with Legionnaire. I'm assuming that's probably the Stranger is the Legionnaire. Kind of looks like it. But that is my review. There's a lot in this book that I don't understand what's going on, like the Watchmen references. I'm hoping it means we're getting more Watchmen, and on a regular basis. I'm a huge fan of the Watchmen. I've loved everything that I've gotten to read, including Doomsday Clock and Rorschach, the one-off series before Watchmen and Watchmen. So I would be ecstatic if we got more of that. But just getting more of this story, the murder of Batman with Helena Wayne. It looks like a futuristic Justice Society, and you know, maybe a brand new Justice Society with all these kids. I have no idea what's coming, but this issue was awesome. It was amazing. It was so fun to read. The art, even though it was done by different artists, every page was fantastic. I do have to say I like the Gary Frank pages a little more. But that is my review. I'm sorry it was so long. This was a big book. I hope I did it justice, Ranger Slide. Please, any information you let me know down below, please, please. And anybody else, you know, chime in. What do you think about this book? What do you think's coming? What do you think this means? I have no idea. It's funny because there are some characters that were featured on the cover that did not make it in the book, like basically the cast of Stargirl. We got, you know, Stargirl, the Dr. Midnight. We got, we do have Huntress on here, which she was in the book. We got, you know, Johnny Lightning. But let me know. Please like, comment, subscribe. That helps this channel out very much. Please comment, and I will see you guys next time. Y'all have a great night. Bah!